At my sister's wedding, I was handed a paper badge. Not a corsage, not a ribbon, a paper badge, the kind they give at PTA meetings or high school science fairs. It read, "Limited access guest." I stared at it for a second, thinking maybe it was a joke. Maybe some ironic, Pinterest-inspired nonsense. But then I looked up and saw my father watching me. Arms crossed, face unreadable. "That means you won't be getting a meal," he said flatly, like he was telling me the time of day. I didn't say a word. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. Instead, I nodded, walked past him, and headed straight for the gift table. My heels echoed on the marble floor like gunshots in a church. Every smiling relative, every gossiping cousin, they all paused to look. I reached the end of the table, found my envelope, thick and crisp, addressed in my handwriting. Inside was a check for $8,500. Money I'd saved over 2 years. I was supposed to help pay for the photographer, the flower arch, the little heart-shaped desserts my sister just had to have. I held it up for a moment, just enough for anyone nearby to see, and then I said, calm and clear, "Looks like you won't be needing this anymore." And I walked out. My sister ran after me, veil flapping behind her like some tragic ghost. My mother screamed, "Come back!" like I was the one ruining her precious fairy tale. But this time, I didn't. My name is Alyssa Grant. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Because the truth is, this wasn't just about a wedding. This was about a lifetime of being made to feel small, unimportant, like the support beam no one noticed, until it cracked. Have you ever been treated like an outsider in your own family? Like no matter how much you give, how much you show up, you'll never be one of them? That was me. Always the responsible one. The one who stayed late at Mom's hospital bedside while my sister was out getting manicures. The one who cleaned up Dad's tax mess. The one who never said no, no matter how inconvenient, expensive, or humiliating. And still, I was the one with the badge. I was the one who wasn't good enough to sit at the reception table, wasn't important enough to be fed, wasn't family enough to be honored on that day. But here's the thing about quiet daughters. We may not speak up often. We may nod, smile, and carry the weight of everyone else's comfort. But when we finally hit our limit, we don't explode. We vanish and take everything with us, because they didn't just insult me with that badge. They reminded me, in front of hundreds, that I was never really welcome, that my place was never at the table, but behind the scenes, that I was only as valuable as what I could give. But that day, I decided something else. If I wasn't welcome at that table, then maybe it was time to flip the table over. And that was just the beginning. Because what they didn't know, as I stepped out into the golden afternoon light with that check in my purse and their voices fading behind me, was that I wasn't just walking away from a wedding. I was walking toward something they never expected. The moment I stepped into my car, something inside me shifted. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, keys in hand, staring through the windshield at the people still laughing inside that reception hall, the same ones who had watched me get labeled and excluded like I was the help. And I thought, never again. I pulled out of the parking lot slowly, letting the warmth of the setting sun hit my face like a quiet slap. It didn't sting. It reminded me I was awake now. Finally, fully awake. When I got back to my apartment, I tossed the badge on the counter like it was radioactive. I stood in the middle of my small but cozy living room and just breathed. It was quiet. Mine. Safe. Unlike the house I grew up in. Growing up, my parents had always made it clear. My sister, Megan, was the golden one. She was delicate, dramatic, needy in a way that made people rush to her side. Me? I was sturdy, independent, the one who never needed anything. They mistook that for not deserving anything. Even when we were kids, Megan got the birthday parties with ponies and princess cakes. I got the joint celebration with a store-bought sheet cake that read "Happy Birthday Girls" in half-faded icing. She cried when she got the wrong color balloons. I said thank you and cleaned up afterward. But this wasn't childhood anymore. This was adulthood. And in adulthood, actions have consequences. They thought they could push me out and I'd still pay for the privilege. That I'd fund the fairy tale and smile from the shadows. But they forgot something crucial. Every vendor was in my name. I was the one who booked the photographer, the DJ, the venue. I paid deposits. I signed contracts. Because Megan was too stressed to do it herself. I did it all out of love, out of duty, out of that same old voice in my head that whispered, if you do enough, maybe they'll love you back. That voice was dead now. I opened my laptop and logged into my accounts. The contracts were all there, with my name, my terms, my control. One by one, I sent the same message. Due to breach of agreement, I am canceling services effective immediately. Please confirm refund procedures. Within minutes, replies started rolling in. The DJ was confused, but polite. The florist apologized and said she'd already delivered, but would withhold the balance. The venue manager sounded panicked. Apparently, my father had promised the rest of the payment was coming soon. I smiled. Then I logged into the slideshow platform I had used for their reception video. All those childhood memories, the ones I digitized, edited, matched perfectly to music, I deleted them. Next, I pulled up the group family chat, the one where I was mostly ignored unless they needed something. I typed, since I'm not really family, I'll be removing myself from the planning documents, payments, and support moving forward. Best wishes. Left the group. Not even a minute passed before my mom called. I let it ring. Then my dad. Ignored. Finally, Megan. I picked up. Alyssa, what the hell are you doing? Her voice was ragged, like she'd been crying. Good. I said nothing. She kept going. The DJ isn't showing up. The venue is threatening to lock us out. What is happening? I finally spoke. Calm. Cold. Looks like your limited access guest had more access than you thought. She gasped. You can't do this. Oh, I already did. Alyssa, please. It was just a stupid badge. I didn't even know. I cut her off. You knew. You saw me wear it. And you let it happen. I hung up before she could reply. Then I leaned back in my chair and let the silence wash over me. It wasn't revenge yet, but it was a damn good start. The next morning, I didn't wake up angry. I woke up clear. There was no heaviness in my chest, no regrets, just this strange, electric calm pulsing through me. I showered, dressed in jeans and a clean blazer, pulled my hair back, and looked at myself in the mirror. For the first time in years, I didn't look tired. I looked ready. At 8:45 a.m., I was standing in line at the bank, the same one where my parents and I had opened the wedding fund account, back when they pretended I was part of the family. I sat across from the same teller, Carol, middle-aged, sweet voice, always called me Hun. She smiled as if she remembered me. Back again. Yep, I said, sliding the check across the desk. I'm here to cancel the agreement tied to this. She frowned slightly but started typing. Sure, Hun, I'll get that revised and back into your savings account. The check? $8,500, cleared by 9:07 a.m. But that wasn't the only account I was closing that day. I'd also like to remove myself from any co-signatures tied to the bridal loan, I added. I have documentation that shows I was misled. I handed her a folder. Inside were screenshots of text threads, email receipts, even voice recordings from Megan and my dad talking about how we'll just let Alyssa handle the paperwork. She always does. Carol's eyes widened. Wow. Okay. I'll escalate this to the loan department. It may take a few days to finalize. That's fine, I said, standing. I've waited long enough. From there, it was a domino effect. I contacted the venue, confirmed the second half of the payment hadn't been made. I cancelled the final transfer. I called the caterer, left a message confirming that my card would no longer be valid for charges. Then I called the photographer, who was a friend of a friend. She didn't even pretend to be neutral. "I heard what they did to you," she said. "Screw them. I'll make sure no photos are delivered until someone else pays the balance, and I'll happily let the bride know." By lunch, my phone was vibrating nonstop. First came Megan. I ignored her. Then Dad. Ignored. Then Mom. I finally answered. "What in God's name do you think you're doing?" she barked. I didn't flinch. What I should have done a long time ago. "You're embarrassing this family. Your sister is in tears. The venue says they are locking the doors if we don't pay in full." "Then I guess you'd better find a way to pay," I said simply. "You think this is mature? Walking away over a name tag?" I chuckled bitterly. "No, I'm walking away over years of disrespect, gaslighting, and being treated like I'm disposable." Mom lowered her voice, threatening now. "You're going to regret this." "No," I said, voice calm and cool. "You're the ones who are finally feeling what I felt for years." I hung up. I wasn't done. Next, I logged into the Dropbox folder that held the wedding slideshow I had spent weeks editing, old family videos, clips of Megan as a toddler, photos of our grandparents, all synced to the perfect instrumental track. I deleted the folder. Then I removed access to the shared drive I had built for vendor coordination. That afternoon, I received an email from the wedding planner, the one they'd hired behind my back after I had done most of the prep. The subject line read, "Urgent. Bride and groom can't access anything." I replied with one sentence, "I'm no longer involved." Then I logged out, shut my laptop, and lit a candle. The flame flickered quietly in the corner of my apartment. No noise, no guilt. I wasn't the villain in this story. I was just finally refusing to be the unpaid background character in theirs. And the spotlight? It was turning. By the next morning, the silence had changed. It wasn't the empty kind anymore, not like the quiet after being excluded or ignored. This silence was satisfying, like the pause after a slammed door you won't open again. But the world around me, it was unraveling. At 6:42 a.m., I got a call from my cousin Brielle. She was at the wedding the day before, one of the few people who'd actually hugged me. "Alyssa, I'm so sorry," she whispered, voice tense. "They are telling everyone you ruined the wedding." I let out a slow breath. "Of course they are. They're saying you stole the check, that the DJ didn't show because you sabotaged it. Even Aunt Pam's mad." I almost laughed. "Let them talk." Brielle paused. "Do you want me to say anything?" "No," I said. "Let them rot in the bed they made." Because while they were playing the victim for their social circle, I was focused on something else. The next chapter. After breakfast, I drove to a print shop 2 towns over. Not the one near our family home. Too risky. I printed 30 copies of a document I had compiled over the last few weeks. It was titled The Hidden Cost of Megan's Wedding. Inside were receipts, screenshots, emails, all the evidence of how much time, energy, and money I had poured into that day, and how my family had twisted it into my shame. I mailed copies to my father's office, my mother's women's club, and 3 of my sister's bridesmaids. Let them read what really happened. By noon, the phone calls became vicious. Unknown numbers, blocked IDs. Even an old family friend called, sounding awkward. "Your mom says you're going through something mental. That maybe we should all pray for you." I smirked. Tell her to pray for better lies. Then I hung up. By now, the story was gaining traction. Megan had posted a long, weepy Instagram caption under a black and white photo of her wedding dress. Something about betrayal, how not all sisters are created equal, and how some wounds never heal. The comment section was a mess. Half of them, "You don't deserve this, Queen." The other half, "Girl, people are saying she paid for half your wedding." One brave soul posted a screenshot of the slideshow link, or rather, the 404 error message. "Oops, looks like you forgot who built your fairy tale." That night, I poured a glass of red wine and watched the chaos unfold online. I didn't comment, didn't defend myself, didn't explain. Because true power doesn't beg to be believed. It proves itself by simply existing. And then, as if the universe wanted to crown my day, I got a call from the venue manager. "Hi, Ms. Grant. Just letting you know, your father tried to pin the unpaid fees on you, but we had your cancellation request on file." I raised my eyebrows. He tried to say I owed it. "Yes, but don't worry. You're clear. In fact, we're sending him the final invoice and a warning." I smiled. After the call, I opened my email and drafted one last message. To Megan, Mom, Dad. Subject, closure. You didn't just exclude me from your table. You built the whole thing on my back and forgot to offer me a chair. I'm done funding my own disrespect. Enjoy the silence. I certainly will. I didn't wait for a reply. I didn't need one. Because now, the story wasn't about them anymore. It was about me. The woman who walked away. The woman who said no. The woman who dared to take everything back. And I wasn't done yet. It started as a whisper, a voicemail here, a text there, a few passive-aggressive posts on social media from my aunts. But by the end of the week, it turned into a storm. Apparently, the story had reached Megan's in-laws, and it didn't land the way she hoped. They weren't rich, but they were proud. Traditional, the kind who believed that integrity mattered more than glitter. When they heard how the wedding was funded, and how their new daughter-in-law had publicly humiliated the one person who made it possible, they were furious. I knew this because Megan's new mother-in-law, Deborah, emailed me directly. Her message was simple. "Alyssa, I don't know you well, but I've seen enough to know you've been wronged. Please know that not everyone believes the story they are telling. Deborah W." I stayed at that line for a long time. Then I closed my laptop, walked into the kitchen, and let the silence wrap around me like armor. That night, Megan called. Again. This time I picked up and put her on speaker. Her voice was cracked from crying. "You're ruining everything." I leaned back in my chair. Am I? Or did I just stop letting you get away with it? You embarrass me in front of everyone. Jason's family thinks I'm a fraud. I blinked slowly. Well, you did fraudulently use my name and money, so. I didn't know Dad would say that stuff. I didn't think it would go this far. No, I said. You thought I'd stay quiet, like always. She went silent. Then, quietly, "What do you want?" I almost laughed. Now she was negotiating. "You can't fix this with an apology," I said. "But you can make it right." "How?" she asked, voice hollow. I told her. 3 days later, a new post appeared on Megan's Instagram. No filters, no white dress, just a photo of her holding the badge. Limited access guest. The caption read, "I owe my sister, Alyssa, more than I can put into words. She paid for my wedding. She organized it. She gave, and I took. And when it came time to honor her, I failed. I let others humiliate her. I watched, stayed silent, and let her walk away without standing up. She deserved better. I'm sorry." The post went viral in our circle. Some praised her. Some said she was forced. But me? I didn't care. Because for the first time, my name wasn't buried under someone else's sparkle. I was seen. The next day, I received a package at my doorstep. Inside, a handwritten card, a bouquet of wildflowers, and a check. $8,500. Signed, Mom and Dad. I stayed at it for a full minute. Not because I was surprised, but because I wasn't. It was their move, their version of peace. A monetary band-aid for years of quiet cuts. I didn't deposit it. I mailed it back with a note. This isn't about money. This was never about money. It's about finally choosing myself. And then I blocked their numbers. The peace after that, it was the kind you can't buy. Because for the first time, I wasn't chasing approval. I wasn't waiting to be invited, chosen. or validated. I was done begging for scraps at a table I helped build. I was building my own now, with my name on every chair. And while they scrambled to rewrite the story, I was already living the sequel. The inbox was quiet now. No more rage emails from Mom. No more fake apologies from Megan. No new follow requests from people trying to get the real story. I had finally disappeared from their narrative, and I liked it that way. But something unexpected happened. I started to feel light, like I'd been walking around with weights sewn into my skin for years, and suddenly someone cut the thread. I was sleeping better, eating better, breathing deeper. Turns out, cutting off toxic family isn't cruel. It's necessary. Still, I knew one thing. I had to break the cycle completely. So I started something new. I took the same wedding planning spreadsheet I had built for Megan and redesigned it. Renamed it the Independent Bride Fund. I reached out to 3 local women I knew, women who had once confessed they couldn't afford a real wedding. Women whose families mocked them, guilt them, held money over their heads like a leash. I offered them tools, contacts, discounts from vendors I still had good relationships with. One woman, Kayla, cried when I offered to mentor her through her wedding planning. She said, "No one's ever helped me just to help me. They always want something in return." I smiled. I know that feeling too well. And slowly, what began as a moment of revenge started to bloom into something else. Healing. Then, 2 weeks later, I got a call from a blocked number. I almost didn't answer, but something in my chest told me to pick up. It was my grandmother. "Alyssa, sweetheart," she said softly. "I've been trying to reach you." My breath caught. She was the only one I hadn't heard from. She wasn't at the wedding. Health issues. But she always sent a card. Always called. Always remembered me. "I heard everything," she said. "Not from them. From Deborah, Jason's mom." My stomach tensed. "Sweetheart," she continued, "I just want you to know, I'm proud of you." I bit my lip. "Had? Really?" "You did what most people don't. You stood up for yourself. And you didn't just survive it. You transformed it." I sat down on the edge of my couch, phone shaking in my hand. "Your mom's been calling me nonstop, crying about how you've cut them off." But you know what I told her? "What?" She chuckled. "I said, Alyssa didn't walk away from you. You shoved her out. She just finally stopped knocking." And that, God, that broke something inside me in the best possible way. A dam. A knot. A decade of being invisible. We talked for over an hour. About everything. And before we hung up, she said, "One more thing. Yeah. You've always been the strongest one, even when no one said it." I cried after that call. Ugly cried. Not because I was sad, but because I finally realized. I didn't need the whole world to clap for me. I just needed one person to see me, really see me, and mean it. The next day, I did something small, but symbolic. I went back to that reception hall. I walked in during open hours, when no events were happening. The manager recognized me instantly. "You okay?" she asked cautiously. I smiled. "Yeah, I just needed to see it one last time." I walked to the exact spot where I was handed the limited access guest badge. I stood there, then pulled a sticker from my purse. It read, "Full access, always." I pressed it onto the wall, low, near the floorboard, where no one would really notice it unless they were looking. It was just for me, my secret signature, because I may have been excluded from their table. But I built a new one, and this time, everyone worthy had a seat. I thought I was done with them. Thought the silence I created would last forever. Thick, final, untouchable. But families like mine don't go quiet. They regroup. They plot. They lie. I found out through my old high school friend, Nina. We hadn't talked in a while, but she messaged me out of nowhere. "Hey, just wanted you to know there's a post going around. From your mom. It's about you." My stomach dropped. I clicked the link. There it was, a long Facebook status, complete with crying emojis and dramatic paragraph breaks. It breaks my heart to see my daughter fall apart like this. We tried everything to help her. She's estranged herself from the family and twisted the truth. Megan's wedding was beautiful, but Alyssa couldn't handle not being the center of attention. The lies were like paper cuts across my face. Tiny, petty, but relentless. And each one bled. I didn't comment, didn't message her, didn't call. Instead, I did something better. I screenshot the post and attached it to a digital file I had been compiling called Receipts and Recovery. Photos, invoices, email confirmations, voice recordings of phone calls, even the badge, limited access guest, carefully flattened, photographed, and uploaded. Then I created a private blog. Not to go viral, not for revenge, for the record, so that anyone who ever asked what really happened would have the truth in black and white. It wasn't public, it wasn't searchable, but it was there. And then, something I didn't expect happened. People started reaching out, people from my past. Friends I hadn't spoken to in years. Old neighbors. Even two of Megan's former bridesmaids. One of them, Zoe, sent me a voice note. Hey, Alyssa. I don't know if you remember, but I was the one who tripped trying to carry the cake boxes into the venue. You were the only one who helped me. You didn't even know me that well. But Megan? She just laughed. I wanted to say, I saw what they did to you. I just didn't have the guts to say anything then. I'm sorry, and I'm proud of you. It stunned me, how the truth has a way of echoing once you stop hiding it. I wasn't alone. I had never been alone. I had just been drowned out by louder voices, until now. Then came the final straw. A letter in the mail. Official. From a lawyer. My parents were trying to sue me for defamation. I read the letter 5 times. Then I smiled. Because I wasn't scared. They weren't coming after me because I lied. They were coming after me because I told the truth. Out loud. So I hired a lawyer of my own. Sent over all my evidence. When their attorney saw the mountain of receipts, he dropped the case. Didn't even make it to court. And just like that, their final weapon was disarmed. I sat on my apartment floor that night, lights low, music soft, laptop in my lap, and I wrote one final entry on my blog. To anyone who's ever been the less important child. To anyone told they were too dramatic, or too sensitive, or making a scene. To anyone handed a paper badge when they deserved a crown. You're not alone. You're not wrong. And you're not crazy. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is walk away and stay gone. I hit publish, closed my laptop, and exhaled. The war was over. The wounds were healing. But I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was becoming something more dangerous. Something beautiful. Something untouchable. I never got an apology. Not a real one. Not the kind that says, I see you now. But that's the thing about healing. It's not about them. It never was. I didn't need an apology to move forward. I just needed to finally, fully close the door. And this time, I locked it behind me. 6 months after Megan's wedding, I launched the Independent Bride Fund publicly. Not just as a spreadsheet or some quiet mentoring behind the scenes, but as a full-blown platform. Workshops, vendor lists, mini-grants, a space where women like me, who had been used, ignored, or made to feel like burdens, could reclaim their joy. The first application I opened came from a girl named Maria, 23, estranged from her parents, engaged but heartbroken because her family had threatened not to attend. Her last line read, I just want to celebrate my love without begging anyone to see my worth. I cried reading it, because that used to be me, but not anymore. Now, I was the one building tables for others. A local journalist picked up the story, a quiet article in the lifestyle section. Woman rebuilds after family fallout by helping brides stand tall. It got shared more than I expected. And guess who saw it? My grandmother. She called me again, her voice trembling with joy. I knew it, Alyssa. I knew you'd turn pain into power. I smiled so hard my cheeks ached. Even Megan reached out, carefully, like stepping over broken glass. I read the article. She texted. I'm proud of you. I stared at her message for a long time, then typed back. Thank you. I'm proud of me too. That was it. Short, clean, not a door reopening, just a respectful boundary. Because I had no interest in stitching myself back into the family quilt that cut me. I was sewing my own. And then, on a quiet Sunday morning, I got the letter. From a lawyer. But this time, not a threat. It was an amended will. From my grandmother. She had rewritten her estate plan, split equally between her grandchildren, with one request. A handwritten note attached. To Alyssa. Let this be a reminder that what's fair doesn't always come from the loudest voices. Sometimes it comes from the ones who kept standing even when no one clapped. I broke down on the floor that day, not for the money, but because someone finally said it. I mattered, without begging, without proving, without earning it like some kind of prize, just for existing. And now, I walk through life differently, head higher, heart softer, back straighter. I still see the badge sometimes, tucked in the drawer next to my passport. Limited access guest. It reminds me how far I've come, because now I grant myself access to joy, to peace, to boundaries, to a life where I am not waiting for anyone to choose me. I already did, and the day I stopped trying to be the good daughter was the day I became something much more powerful. The woman who walked away and never looked back.